dropping the trucks off and then running away and collecting those later. And that was the one of the bedrocks of the early railways, which lasted in the 1960s. Now, as the station opened in 1872, this is what the station looked like with this very smart-looking gentleman over here. So we've got a very nice-looking but very plain type of building. But what's interesting is that the railways often built in the same vernacular across their networks. And for the stations that are left, all of the stations on the line, Retro Road, Stamford Hill, Stoke Newington, were all built in this similar type of vernacular. So Stoke Newington was no exception. Down at platform level, we have these lovely Great Eastern style sawtooth canopies, they're called, with dagger boards. These are dagger boards. Now, they're not called dagger boards because they look like knives. Dagger boards are so named because they look like the back end of a sheep. They get the taily flap that gets covered in poop. Yeah, those are called daggers. And that's why they're called dagger boards, which I bet you didn't know. So this is pre-World War I can tell, because you have this pre-war steam engine. You've got the old signalling here with these semaphore signals, which would drop down for go and go up again for stop. You'll notice it's mounted on the other side. This train's coming towards us on this track. We run on the left. But the reason it's here is because the line was built on a big curve, and then you go through this big bridge. So that's how they had to put the signal on that side so the drivers could actually see them. And you'll see, compared to today, you'll see later, that the facilities were rather nice. There was a bookshop there, you had toilets and waiting rooms. Can you imagine now? Platforms are rather desolate, we'll get to why later. They even installed a milk churn lift in the 1880s at the station. We have more pictures. This is now from the London or up platform. Railway vernacular, up is towards London, and if your railway's not going towards London, it's towards the nearest settlement, and down is the other way. So south or here is the up platform. You can see here the very long skew bridge, which with the A10 goes across here, and you can see the facilities on the northbound or down platform, which are not quite as nice, because generally speaking, this is for passengers going to London, and the other platform is mainly for people getting off, not so much for local traffic. So, the opening of these stations on this line, the 1870s into the 1880s, stimulated a massive amount of housing development, partly because of the fact that they were attracting workmen's type fares. And then the railways effectively enabled all this extra urban development, and then they kind of caused a problem. They induced competition from things like tramways and buses, which could undercut the railways on cost, and therefore the railway in Stoke Newington struggled for passenger revenue throughout the years in kind of fluctuating over time. Now, goods traffic was massive. There was depots and stuff right up in the north in Cambridgeshire, and freight would be coming through either through Tottenham Hale or through this line, a hell of a lot in between the passenger trains. But the passenger traffic did start to suffer a little bit when the tramways started to open, and the populations of these parts of London were massively growing. And then we get to a very interesting part of this area's history, if I can do my papers. There we go. All right. Now, most of you in this room, I assume, have heard of the London Underground. But did you know the London Underground was planned to serve Stoke Newington? No. So, railway mania is what brought us lots of lines crisscrossing North London and indeed crisscrossing the country. Most of them got rid of by beaching. Boo. But there were lots of interesting plans across this part of North London for underground railways. This one here, the LW and EFR, is the London, Walthamstow and Epping Forest Railway, which is the black line here, branching towards South Tottenham. So this is the Great Eastern lines that you see here, Liverpool Street to Chingford, Cambridge to Stratford, and it was going to come off here, and you can see there's a line. We've got this branch here, which is basically kind of following the Chingford branch. It's almost duplicating it really, and that was kind of the plan. So the London, Walthamstow and Epping Forest Railway, which I'm going to try and say not too many times because it's a bit of a mouthful, what they were going to do is they were going to build it with big tunnels. Now, have any of you taken the Great Northern trains down to Moorgate for Finsbury Park? It's still on the platform of Hybrid Islington. Notice that they're very big tunnels. Those are 16 feet wide, or 4.9 metres. They were built for tube trains, and now they have mainline trains. And the whole point of that was, with the Great Northern Railway, was that you'd have a train come in at Finsbury Park, knock off the steam engine, put on an electric loco, and it would take the train straight into Moorgate from the main line. This is exactly the same idea, and the Great Eastern Railway kind of supported it, and then the Great Eastern didn't support it because they thought, actually, we want to build our own underground line. And then they were like, actually, we don't have the money for that, so maybe you can build it after all. And these ding-dongs happened from 1880 until 1910, where we had these potential lines being built or not being built, and in various different formats. So this was for the London Walthamstow Epping Forest Railway. Another branch was going to end in this area here, roughly where Tottenham Hotspur Stadium is, and you can see it was going to run right through Stoke Newington and follow this line here, partly as a relief to the Great Eastern Railway.